Hitting go live now. There we go. We are live.
And now your background noise went up like 50%. Oh dear.
Don't know
Wow.
what to tell you.
Wow, that's real bad. Hi guys, sorry about that. Bear through it. Nothing can be done. Sorry about that. Hello, Stuart.
Hello.
Welcome to the YouTube. It's your first time with us, being the visual update that you are. But, you know, it's a nice place with some lovely people. Just don't try and eat any of them, because I know you get a bit hangry in the afternoon if you haven't eaten your person.
Yes. Yes. Anyway, how is everybody? Hope you're well. We're going to talk about the Gorn today.
The many Gorn.
Ah, yes. And whether they make sense and can be, reconciled within canon.
And it's funny because this is the conversation we had with the Klingons back in
Yes.
the day. So I feel like I'm, we're back there again. With, will it make sense?
Probably not. But we will try.
We will try. That is what we're here for.
And you guys as well. You got to help.
Without you, what's the point,
Exactly.
Be here
That's
and
why we're
say
here.
a
We
piece.
got a good community, great people. We love to talk Trek. So, talk Trek.
And don't just be saying subspecies. That ain't interesting enough. Because by that logic, anything can be anything. They can be, green Andorians with purple hair. It's just a subspecies, or they've no antennas. It's like, right.
Well, they cut them all off when they're at war. And they grow back for when they're not at war. Don't you know that?
And their hair, naturally white. When Andorians get stressed, it goes ginger, and then it goes back to white when they're not stressed. It's like the reverse of us, going to white. So ginger, green Andorians with no antennas during war and stress, right? Yep. Yep. Well done, Stuart. Okay, that's it. We got it. Canon. Dear me.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, sometimes it doesn't take much, does it?
No. But we want to hear from you guys, of course, as you guys know. So
I feel like the Gorns, while minimally used, people have opinions on them.
Yeah.
At least you'd like to think they're so engaged. Because, there's only so many alien races in TOS, like actually alien races. So this is one of the Tholian, you got Gorn, you got the Horcrux, no, Hortons, the Horta. Yeah, I was close.
Horta, yeah.
You got the lava people, Metrons.
No. The Metrons are from Arena. They're the ones that the
talking balls of brain.
Nope.
No.
Tall, skinny person with blonde hair and a white robe.
Oh.
Mm.
Oh, the Weird Angel-esque, but not.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Oh dear. So, they're alien tools. There's only so many alien races in TOS, and the Gorn, unlike others, were in other Star Treks. So it's not as if there's one and gun. Although you would think now that if the Horta were seen in another show, they'd just make them entirely different because we've improved our technology in the last 60 years. It's like, oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is that the reason?
And Chuck, don't worry about the Gorn puns. Those are hilarious. Keep them coming.
Although, what do you prefer, a Gorn or a Gorn Magander?
It's just a Gormagander. Not really Gorn
Magander. I've got Gorn and Magander. Magander's up with my Gorn. I got Corn in the Gander. I got Gorn in the Corn. Corn. I'm gonna make a poll.
Okay. Are Gorn stars a subspecies? No, Gorn stars is their show about a pawn shop. Anyway, guys, 54 of you here, 22 likes. That's awesome. But hit that like button if you haven't. Let's get up to 50 likes. Should be super easy. Barely an inconvenience for most of you. Hit that like button. Also, keep in mind that we do rely on super chats to help out the channel. So if you guys can super chat in any thoughts, anything you guys want us to talk about, theories, if you will, about the Gorn, let us know. Super chat them in. We would love to hear them. We do read them all on the airs, so it's a good way to get your voice out there. You can also join our fleet. We have a fleet video at the end of every one of our videos, edited content-wise, and you guys can be a part of that. You can have a rank, be assigned to a ship, be a captain, have your own ship, be an admiral, have a hero ship, space station, or starbase. So anyway, yeah, check out the join option, see what's available, how you guys want to help out, or you can do the exact same thing over on Patreon/Trekyards. Same perks, privileges, ranks, everything apply there. Go check it out.
But I want you to read this poll, Stuart, and think about what I'm asking for a second, because I've thrown a really interesting curveball.
Which is favorite Gorn design? TOS, the animated series, Lower Decks, Disco Season 1. That just answers it right there. Strange New Worlds, Enterprise, or the JJ game. Yeah, because there have been quite a few, and the first one has been shown multiple times, and should therefore be the established canon. But let us know your thoughts. Go vote on the poll.
And do you want to tell audience why on earth I would put Discovery Season 1, Stuart? That's a visual reboot season. Why would the Gorn appear there?
Because Lorca had a full adult-sized Gorn skeleton in his menagerie aboard the Discovery. And it looks exactly like it should, which is awesome. I would include Enterprise in with the top ones, honestly, because he's kind of an ugly Gorn. He's got a little bit weird facial features, but he's still pretty Gorn accurate.
I mean, they were trying to be a different design. You could tell, right? They weren't. They could have made the classic one really easily. So it's different enough. Otherwise, you're adding a lot of variation because the other ones are so similar.
Yeah.
And besides, it's all saying people like a visual reboot, a slight visual reboot, a big visual reboot, or a classic.
Yeah. Do we have the? I'm gonna find a picture of that Gorn.
Oh, I've got
skeleton.
I've got it all coming up, Stuart. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Oh, okay, cool. I want to look at it right now. So can't wait for you. You take fucking forever. Let me see.
Yeah, I've got the bonus giant collage, as well as the normal giant collages, because it's a shockingly used race that you don't think is shockingly used, but actually is shockingly used. Actually.
Yes, and yet they maintain their mystery because they're shown, and we never really learn a lot about them, which is awesome.
I mean, anything about them? Really?
Yeah.
Can we be that charitable and say anything about them? But how do you do them in a long form way? Even not sure.
And Trent C says, "Was there a Picard skull in Picard season 2? Did season 3 have one on display?" And
you mean season 2? In Picard's office? Evil Picard's office?
Was that season 2? Okay, yeah, Evil Picard's office.
One because he had all the other aliens.
I don't
remember there being. Yes, there's the giant collage. And there's the question, guys. It's the simple one. What is the gut reaction here for the Gorn? The fact that I can signify them in such distinct variation shows the consistency. But guys, what do you think in general of the Gorn from Stranger Worlds? Because we are going to look at the full legacy and actually try and link them all. This isn't about debating if they make sense. It's about how do we connect them, how do we make a logic, how do we think about them, how do we bring the Gornification of the Gorn world, etc.
All your talk, Samuel, you're making me really Gorny right now. Oh. But as Lucky Cantrell says, we weren't Gorn yesterday, so we know better.
I'm going to start showing. See you in a minute.
Go for it. Yeah, hit that like button, guys. We have 37 likes. I'd like to get to 50 at least. As I said, join the fleet if you're able to. It would really help us out. Check that out either down below by clicking the join button or heading over to Patreon/Trekyards. That's another way to support us if you're able to. Also, don't forget to hit like. I already said that, but I'm saying it again. Helps us out. Super chats also help immensely. You have no idea. So please, even like a $5 one makes a huge impact. So if you guys want to have us read your name and your comment or your question or your theory, by all means, throw in a super chat. We will read them out, and that way you can be part of the conversation live here with us. Really appreciate all you guys, and we want to hear your take on this because this is pretty important as far as species go, and as far as canon goes as well. So we want to hear from you guys. Also, check down below. There is a description down there that has links to the Teespring and the TeePublic store where you can get some cool Trekyards merch. If you want to help us out that way, that would be awesome as well. Can't wait to see what you guys are wearing at the next convention, Trekyards wise. Pick up a shirt. Pick up two. Anybody you know likes Trekyards, buy them a shirt.
I mean, you know what they say, the best present known to man is a Trekyards t-shirt.
True. I think that's the 67th anniversary one. 67th anniversary gift is a Trekyards t-shirt. 25th anniversary is silver, 50th is gold, I believe. It gets better and better from there. So go buy yourself or someone you love or hate if they don't like Star Trek a Trekyards shirt.
So, Stuart, how you're always tapped into this stuff. How do you think the reaction has been to Gorn since this latest episode, which is the only Gorn episode of this entire season? As interesting as that has been. What do you think?
I think people have been pretty on board with things. I think there are some questions arising, such as the tail issue, but it's not really an issue in my opinion. It's cool that they actually, I watched that Ready Room thing, and that they developed the adult Gorn first and then worked backwards from there for its different life stages, which is cool. I think a lot of people are very accepting of the Strange New Worlds one, and kind of like, I feel a large majority of people are like, this is what they would have done in the 60s if they could have. And sure, I mean, who's to say, honestly? So it's just a visual retcon for a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people think too much into it, which is unfortunate. But we are here to make those conversations happen and kind of generate some new ideas and interests. So, yeah. How about you? What have you heard that, you got a good consensus on things from people?
I think, obviously, season 1, there were xenomorphs, and there wasn't really any redeeming features, right? There was pretty universal, as in, 51%, right? I guess, majority, yeah. This dude, I think the fact that he is a guy in a suit does help, although it's hard to work out from the episode, because it's they both appreciate the realness and also clearly scared of the limitations, because there's very few lingering edits, which he appreciates a guy in a suit, which would have been super. But obviously it's a wonderful investment, because of course once you spend the 100, 200, 300,000 on a full prosthetic suit thing, because obviously R&D and now you can throw him in anywhere. You literally get him on the day versus giant CG. Will it work? Will it not? Every shot costs more money. That's a really great investment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't imagine there is a Gorn under the suit. It's not how these things really work. So we've got a face, but designing a Gorn without the suit will be another giant investment. Although, naked green. Unless you put a loincloth, there you go. Easy. Gorn nudity.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of, there is definitely a, what's the thing where you accept your captors? Stockholm syndrome. There's a bit of Stockholm syndrome now where, if you're shoved in your face a visual reboot for long enough, you're not judging this compared to the original canon because it's not trying to be, right? So that, it wears you down after enough time that why would you even mention it in the same way? I think the conversation isn't so much that, it's just people's own personal enjoyment of the design versus its canon connection, which in itself is a good thing because it means it's distinct.
Yeah.
We're to try and connect it because, they're both in the canon, so that's a discussion that we then have to have.
Yes, indeed. Well, we got some super chats in.
Excellent.
So let's do it. Olivia Julius throws in $5. My favorite Gorn design is the bottom left one. Looks so human yet so reptilian. Which bottom left one? What happened?
Thanks, Olivia.
Oh, that'd be you.
Gotcha.
Chuck A, $2. I totally went over my head. I thought that she was looking at a different graphic. Anyway, Chuck A, $2. Great episode. A long wait for part 2, however. Indeed. Don't know how long, unfortunately. And
Well, I
Sturm
mean,
von
the
Alt.
VFX people aren't on strike. They can still progress VFX work, and just like with the Orville, they just kept running that train, and then season 3 has like 50,000 VFX shots of incredible variety and complexity. So they can still do stuff, just not the main thing.
Yeah.
But we'll make shooting quicker and easier because it'll be prepped. So there is some advantages.
But Sturm von Alt, remember, for 35 months at the rank of ensign, says Bosk is a better Gorn than anything lately. Actually, you're not wrong. Bosk is a pretty good Gorn, yeah.
Mm.
And his different skin color is just, again, different region of his planet. That's fine.
Mm.
So, I like it. I like it a lot.
So here's the first general graphic, which is a relatively cool kind of full body of Gorn that we've seen in the Trek universe in timeline order. Because that's important, because this is the
chronologically, yeah.
literality of the canon, right? And if you're looking at species evolution or whatever, this is the line from, of course, Into a Darkly, Parallel Universe, The Giantest Grainest of Salt, but we'll include it because, of course, we should. The Stranger Worlds, Gorn, full bodysuit version, which shows you the body type, which we don't get to see in the episode too much. The Gorn, the animated series, Gorn cameo, which people always forget about, and the lower decks, Gorn groom, who's a bit mad, but you can tell the design. What sticks out to you here, Stuart?
There's also a kebab man as well in Ordnance. No, impressed with how much they tie together, honestly. The one from Strange New Worlds looks very reminiscent to the one from Enterprise and Amir Darkly. Same kind of, even the picture, just the way the angles are great. When you do this kind of stuff, it's just like, yeah, they're different body types of the same species a little bit. Not really subspecies per se, but just yeah. Strange New Worlds one has the coolest outfit because it's a spacesuit. Well, I want to see the cloth he's wearing because all the other ones have some kind of tie-in to it. So
yeah, because what this shot doesn't do, of course, isn't show the head detail. All you can see in the Stranger Worlds one is a bit of green and an eye, so you don't see the differences. All you're seeing is the connective vibe of all 5. Same with the Enterprise, right? So this actually does a good job at comparing them abstractly, and we'll go into the details of the faces later. Because there's a against this timeline. Does this point to in between Strange New Worlds and TOS that they have some sort of genetic mishap and they become more bipedal? Because in this lineup, what it says to me is that they're more animalistic in the early years. Something happens, and I mean, for the next 100 years, they are two-legged people,
maybe
creatures with far more humanistic traits. I mean, this is what that shows you if you look at it literally.
That's what happens after Strange New Worlds. In order to make peace with the Gorn, they make a deal with the Gorn. They don't stop using our planets for breeding facilities. If you're trying to improve your species or evolve some way, we can help you, give you some genetic DNA assistance. And then they get, maybe that's why they're using humans on all these colonies, is because they want to, like a xenomorph, when it bursts out, uses some of the DNA to become a different thing. And maybe that's what's going to happen. Strange Worlds is going to be like, the admirals are going to say, you know what? If you want that help, we'll help you out. We'll give you our geneticists, But that it's too much interaction with the Gorn then, and that's the problem. I mean, Arena kind of establishes that we don't really know anything about them, so it's one of those odd things. But I do kind of like that, as it's kind of a step towards a different evolution, if you will, for the species. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities with that one, as far as. And we did this with the Klingon thing too, where it could be genetic manipulation that made them look like that, and . So it's a simple answer, I guess, for sci-fi, but I kind of like it. It's eloquent.
Obviously, we are ignoring the lack of knowledge of the Gorn in TOS and the extensive knowledge in Stranger Worlds. But we're looking in the abstract, right? We can't do everything because they've not attempted to bridge the gap. So we're going to attempt to bridge the gap for them. Like, literally bridge the gap. They're doing their own thing. But yeah, it's shockingly apparent, the 2 and 3. And of course, if this was only the 60s and 70s, but Lower Decks did Gorn, so there's no debate that those are canon. There's no visual reboot happening in the grand scheme, right? But in this lineup, it's 2 and 3. They evolve into them. It's interesting.
You say that though, but there is a debate whether Lower Decks is canon. A lot of fans don't think it's canon because it's a cartoon.
Right.
So,
I mean,
it's just silly.
If
But
Lower
hey,
Decks isn't canon, Strange Worlds certainly isn't canon because it's a visual reboot. I mean, if cartoons aren't canon, then deliberately doing something different is definitely not canon.
yeah.
I mean, if you know what I mean. If one is one, and one is absolutely not. It's trying to, anyway.
DRT is king throws in $10. Thank you so much. I think the tail is robotic and used it via the extant brain patterns. But I still hang on to the idea that the Gorn are multiple reptiles in a polity similar to the Dragon Age Qunari. Could be. That could be the case as well. Not so much subspecies, but just different like castes of people.
Because there's definitely, well, that's the thing, isn't it? And as I said, we'll show later, there is a classic Gorn in Discovery. So Strange Worlds is part of Discovery. Discovery is part of the new Trek. That Gorn also exists. Can't decanonize that in their logic because it all stems from the same thing. So there is a real Gorn in the Discovery Strange Worlds canonical lineage. So if you want to say that there are, like you say, there are the more alligator warriors.
Yeah.
Then out of the 3 of these, you have a guy sent over to an enemy ship to do some dodgy thing. You'd send a warrior, wouldn't you?
Well, he doesn't look military, the guy from Enterprise. He looks almost civilian, like he's a mercenary.
In Enterprise. Well, yeah, but I mean, in the end, that version, it's more like, mirror universe. Warriors are more generalized. He's just, an offensive officer, right? That class. Plus, looking after slaves isn't very nice. Let's go with warrior,
I'm just saying from his garb, it seems like the least.
Well,
I'm going to say the least militaristic, but I mean, look, it's TOS. I mean,
well, yeah, I mean that is their military, right? Like the guy's in a spacesuit, so you can't compare garb to garb there. And in TOS, you've got the captain class. Clearly, that's who he was. / superior class. I mean, if you want to go, he has more, more easy motion and things, etc. Animated series, he's at a diplomatic he's with Andori.
Yeah.
He's at a banquet thing. That's clearly a higher class person. And then Lower Decks could be anything. He's at a wedding, right? But if that, it would still follow, it could be a higher class. So that also splits up into 2 or 3 species, which would also then flow why the Xenogorn are so aggressive, because they are bred, or even they would intentionally. I mean, you can imagine if there are. If the middle Gorn is the main Gorn, and they bred a subspecies of their own culture to be fighters, and you infect a race, the race babies make 8, the strongest survives, the strongest then keeps going, and boom, you've got, your survival of the fittest ding your army each time. And it's just a self-created warrior class. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea. I mean, and yeah, that's what I mean by different castes of people.
Yeah.
Like, like the buff military guys that, have the genetics to train and be like hyper aggressive. And then the more like kind of laid back and more intelligent, perhaps officer caste, which, although it's kind of like the Dominion in a way. The Horda and Jemadar. So, yeah, no, I like the idea for sure. And it would really add a nice, interesting layer to their cultural story, right?
Especially, like say, if it was self-created, they were not afraid to butcher their own species to create better warriors, and that would explain the overly alien-like vibe at the start, because aliens from Alien were also genetically created to be perfect killing machines. So. Yeah. The logic of perfect killing machine can integrate across ideas and universes, right? Go into an enemy, self-breed, create 8. Those 8 can, because we saw that the young ones were killing people as they birthed, so that's a really good method of killing around them, etc., etc.
Yeah.
What would be really great then, if the Strange World guys have the plan, is to show warrior class until suddenly we jump into a captain's
or a diplomatic meeting.
Oh yeah, kind of like the Cylons in. Can you imagine if they fight this Gorn for like 3 seasons, and then there's one meeting, 2 admirals, and it's just a guy in a suit with eye, like, oh my god, he's got a mouth that moves, and he's lip syncing. Hello, I'm a Gorn. And he walks up, he sits down like a normal guy. He's like, where's a Gorn? I'm a Gorn. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Warrior cast, hello. I speak good. I learned English, it's fine. Because that would be really exciting, because then, like I say, you can imagine the suit to create a Linus-style prosthetic Gorn with a body on it, infinitely cheaper than the Warrior Gorn. But then if you have scenes in Season 3 or 4 where you're fighting a Gorn fleet, and you cut to the bridge, and you got 3, presumably 1 character actor cloned, via camera work, piloting the ship, and then you cut down to the lower deck, and you got 3 cloned warriors ready in space to launch. Could be a really exciting visual parallel that everyone wins. And if you want to then throw in the Enterprise Gorn as like the intermediate, the half evolved Gorn. I mean, here we are giving too much credit, like, because we said this for the Klingons, like, you could do it really, really well. They just didn't do it, then ignored it, which is also viable, but really interesting idea.
I have much more faith in the Strange New Worlds guys to do it properly than I did in Discovery. Because Discovery, they just didn't care. They wanted to do their own thing. This Strange New Worlds has been very much riding that line of trying to maintain canon and doing a pretty good job of it overall. Like, there's not a lot of complaints you can have in that regard. So I think I have more faith in them for sure. But Matthew DeFreitas, though, $5. Thank you so much. My headcanon, TOS Gorn is a senior citizen. The tail falls off when they hit 65. LOL. Boom. Solved. Well, I doubt the guy in lower decks is 65. He's getting married.
It's 3rd wedding.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
And I think the tail just gets smaller and smaller, and maybe does eventually fall off. The younglings have it for sure. And the spacesuit we talked about, it could be a mechanical implement, much like their ancestors had, a perfect weapon for striking or, gripping onto things, especially in a spacesuit when you're going to be outside of a vehicle. Use the tail to grip onto things, perhaps, but it's a mechanically controlled tail, and not their actual tail.
And you can see they can't. But that makes more sense as to be a tail in a spacesuit is a very giant thing to do, and to have that much movement and engineering nightmare. If it's a robot tail, then there you go. And it's not as if we saw the tail do super intricate things. I feel like a robot. I mean, they got warp travel, right? They can, etc.
Ray Ricks, though, £5.
Thank you.
If I remember my inaccurate universe map, the Gorn homeworld is near Kronos. So maybe exposure to augment virus at this time. Just out there idea. Interesting. Don't buy it, though.
And also, that would be a hell of a contamination, because that was limited to like 5 colonies. Yeah. And you'd have to have a Klingon that actively went to a Gorn planet, infected them, it moved species, and then affected a lot of I mean, maybe you could say the Klingons use the virus on them to try and take them out, but that again feels a bit odd, and also makes humans to blame again, which is a problem. It's like, damn it, we made a Vulcan virus, which is our people, we don't Klingons.
That's what we do, man. That's what we do. Joshua Stearns, $5. Geckos lose their tails and they don't grow back. It's not that uncommon even here on Earth. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And none of them have tails except for Strange New Worlds ones.
In a spacesuit. So we can't even say.
Well, the younglings have them. So.
Well, yeah, but that's one. So we're agreeing on this point.
Yeah.
Klingon Orcs versus Xenogorn. Yep, that's fair.
Yeah.
Patrick, welcome. Hope you're doing some better then.
Yes, good to see you.
But obviously, should we address then the fact that does the animated series Gorn look like the TOS Gorn?
Nope. More similar than dissimilar for sure. But it has more, like you said, of an alligator type head, longer snouts. Again, just different genetic variety.
Because the animated series was a show that Gene could do whatever he wanted without real life constraints. So that's what he envisioned a Gorn to be, because there was no, like, didn't cost much to draw that or design it, unless Gene wasn't involved. But that's what, like, you saw the amazing creatures that were made in animated series. Well, that's what a Gorn he wanted to be when he had no budgetary problems. He's just an alligator head that's not human proportion, right? The other Gorn head, you can tell it's a thing on top of a dude's head. It's kind of like it's a head and then an additive. The one in animated series is so much shrunk that you can tell a dude's head would really have a hard time fitting in that. And of course, Enterprise then made the neck such that you couldn't put a person in that form. Although it's funny,
David Thompson.
Stranger was you can put a human guy in the form because they did.
Yeah. David Thompson, see y'all, everything's over my head. No, stick around. Hope we're not going too much. Oh, we are going on too much into detail, but we want all opinions. Mm-hmm. So
we have the deep dive debate. Look at the range of visuals we have here. It's amazing.
Yeah. Jimmy says it looks less gator and more some kind of shrink wrap dino skull.
But then, speaking of the idea of it being an aged Gorn, how does that fit with you? That older Gorn get more humanoid and a younger Gorn are more alligator-like?
I like it. I really do. I think that's, again, a lot of species change a lot from young to adults, even some dramatically so. I have no problem with that. I think it's probably a good solution. And considering the guy that in Arena is a captain, he's older, diplomat, same thing there. Yeah, I like the idea, honestly. Makes perfect sense. Stewardess Studios, great name. Looks like first super chat, $5. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I know it's not canon, but Captain Foley might recall that Starfleet battles had the Gorn that had 3 similar species. Yeah, I don't remember that specifically. I'd have to go check out my Starfleet battles books. But yeah, Starfleet battles does a really good job with the Gorn and stuff as well. I need to go read that now. I didn't know they had 3 different species. They're kind of like the Xindi in that regard, then a little bit.
Yeah, although of course that was just 5 species on one planet. Like, they're not the same species, they're just 5 species on one planet. Like if we had evolved alligators, we're not the same species, but we've come together to be called the Xindi overall, even though we're all different species. Well, I guess we all came from the swamps at some point. I do like that it being age being the determining factor. I can see, and this is obviously just entirely reaching because that's what we're trying to do right now, is that the Gorn in these Voyages Into Darkly is a young go-getter that wants to do a good job for his parents at slave trading and really just help the Tholians. Just go out on his own, move out of his parents' house at a ripe old age of 14, and go out and really work with those slaves. Really do a good job for the Tholians. So he's young, right? Whippersnapper, and and then maybe older Gorn, a la TOS, say, yeah, I'm too old for this shit. I'm not boarding alien spacecrafts. Like, I don't know. Get Reginald to do it, and then Reginald's like,
I had to kill all my brothers and sisters, and oh my god, I had a rough life. So yeah, I'm at the age now where I just want to chill.
Yep. Got my Gorn coffee, my Gorn snacks, my Gorn pretzels. We'll let Reginald put on the spacesuit, put on the fake tail, and go and deal. Oh no, you got stabbed in the face. Oh.
Matthew DeFriedis says, just bring back the Star Trek video game Gorn. LOL, that was dope. You say that, but they have 0% in the poll. I don't know if a lot of people. We'll probably show a picture of them at some point because I really like the Gorn design from that game. Speaking of, guys, we have 98 people here with 63 likes. Hit that like button. Let's try to get up to 100 likes. If you haven't hit like yet, please do so. And Stuartless Studio goes on to say, evolved on 3 different planets in the same system. Okay. Yeah, I'll need to brush up on that because it's been a long time since I, you know, played Starfleet battles, but it used to be my thing. So
Speaking of a thing, though, here's the next graphic. This is at the look at the actual head, because that's actually the most interesting thing about the Gorn. And this is in real time order, as the interpretations have altered. Of course, got TOS, guy in suit, rubber mask, darkly. The lady from the low decks is more clear, and a giant head of the Strange New Worlds, which now looks substantially more different when you actually zoom in.
yeah, and then that Ready Room thing, they also showed it outside of the helmet, but it was just literally the head. It actually had a lot in common with the Gorn, I thought, because it kind of had like the ridges and stuff, the 60s one. So yeah, I don't know. It definitely feels more realistic as far as an alien species go. Like, I gotta go Strange New World's credit. They really did a good job designing this thing. But they're keeping some of the trademarks, like the teeth, the nice sharp teeth, quite visible on all of them. The eyes go from and this could be just different forms of eyelids for different parts of the planet, let's say, because you got the prismed eye of both the Arena one and the Lower Decks one, and then you got more of the lizard-like, slit eye of the Enterprise Inner Darkly, and then that Strange New Worlds. So I kind of like the realism of the Strange New Worlds and Enterprise one a little bit, but at the same time, I appreciate the alienness of the other ones. Kind of just being this prismatic eye. You can't tell if it's looking at you necessarily. It isn't a pupil. So, again.
Yeah, it's interesting that there's just been choices made, because it's different eyes. I mean, I wonder what the rationale was for both and for neither. Although maybe one is just contact lenses.
Yeah, there you go. Or like visual enhancement devices. Contact to throw in, and it enhances the spectrum of light or something.
Because both styles have real merit. The TOS one is very alien. It's unrelatable to us, but it gives this really alien, like, they can see more than you feel. The other two, it just feels like, oh, it's an alligator's eye, like, it's just animal, right? It entirely different vibes. I do like seeing the pupil. It grounds it. I feel like I can see into the guy's soul. The other is just an abstraction. And of course, well, it's much cheaper to do the TOS version, because there's no where is the Gorn looking. Whereas as soon as you put a pupil in, you now have to do CGIs because they aren't static, right? So that actually becomes a huge. Yeah.
Ray Ricks throws in £2.
Thank you.
The STO Gorn also have various designs, or had various designs.
Yeah, we'll get there in a minute.
Very cool. Come on, guys, hit like. We have 110 people and 71 likes. I think we can easily hit 100. If you're just joining us, appreciate the conversation. Hanging out with us, please hit that like button. Keep super chatting in. We want to hear your thoughts, theories, anything you guys know about the Gorn or think you know about the Gorn. Let us know. We do read them all. So.
Yeah, it's fun to work out the what ifs.
Easily explained as Northern Gorn and Southern Gorn. Yes. The north side, the planet is tipped towards the sun, so the north hemisphere, they need the more protective prismatic eyes. The darker south hemisphere, they developed just the regular eyes. It's much more. It's not as ultraviolet intensity there. Perfect. Problem solved.
Yeah, it's. But that's the thing. If they say that, they also need to show TOS Gorn. Because as soon as they do that, it's like, okay. They have to, and they really do have to, right? They've been so good in other things. They do have to show the original Gorn to show that bridge, that gap, and to relay them in a way that helps the continuity.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to tell what the animated series Gorn's eyes are like. They're just yellow. I assume they're much like the Enterprise or the Strange New Worlds one in that regard. But there's no pupil. I forget if there was a close up in that episode or
No,
not.
he's just
That
part of
makes it
scenery.
better. Yeah. So, I mean, it could be prismatic. They just didn't want to draw them all. It's filmation after all. But yeah, I mean, the Lord X ones, both the groom and the bride have those. Actually, all the Gorn at that wedding did.
It's all very standard.
So, yeah.
But let's go into the deeper tapestry, because you thought we were Gorned out. I just threw in 3 more curveball Gorn, because, you know, we need more Gorn to curveball with the Gorn.
Welcome to Trekyards.
It's a pretty varied approach.
Yeah. Yeah, Jimmy Blether says, ooh, you're going to mention this STO ones too. Neat. That's what we do here. We like to talk about all of the Gorn. Did you send me that graphic? Because I don't have that graphic.
Yep. The last thing I sent as a bonus.
Where'd you send it? On Facebook?
So, of course, this is the same 5 Gorn from the top. Into a Dark Place, Stranger Worlds, TOS, Series, Lodex. Now on the bottom, you've got the JJ, a second alternate timeline universe Gorn on the left. In the middle, you've got a selection, because they have many variants, a selection of Gorn from Stowe. I'm not going to pretend that even relates to half of them, but that's, you know, you Google Gorn, this is a promotional image from one of the expansions. If look, here's a new Gorn set. So, and then the right one is what we alluded to earlier, is the Discovery canon Gorn skeleton, which is notable in the episode, while not highlighted upon. You can only see it close up in the pre-ready room, ready room. But, I mean, clearly the exact same Gorn as TOS. I mean, not a damn thing different. The prop department committed, and they made it. It's definitely not into a Darkly Gorn. It is. So they a fully canon Discovery Gorn. So we know that Gorn does exist in, what, 4 shows? Yeah, so at least 4 shows that the canon Gorn exists, and 2 others it doesn't.
Jimmy Blether says, do the JJ ones have a tail? Kind of looks like it. I don't know. I don't think so. Not with the full body. Let me take a look here. I have them pulled up. I think it's basically, they used a heavily modified human skeleton to make that prop. So I don't think so.
Yeah, I would assume it would just be, yeah, exactly. Because it's just his background prop, isn't it? But I don't remember. Again, it's not seen in any meaningful way. What does this graphic speak to you then as, if you combine them all?
Well, see, I see a lot of similarities between the JJ, the 2009 film, Gorn, and the one we got in Strange New World, especially from that angle. They definitely look very similar. I mean, Star Trek Online, they look very dinosaur-like. I do appreciate, and I'm looking at the one like almost full scale shot of of Lorca with the Gorn skeleton behind him. It just looks like a regular human skeleton. Doesn't look like there's any tail at all. So,
as TOS was, that's correct, right?
But I got to give them props for when they made that skull. They even included the extra nostril slots or slits in the skull, which are actually just what the actor was looking through. I appreciate the attention to detail on that. I don't know. The Gorn could be so interesting, and I think they're getting that way, especially if there are these variations on their genetics.
It's funny because I remember I did not play the Klingon Force beyond like quickly testing, right? So I've never done the Stowe Gorn, and when you shoot them long enough, you sort of forget what they look like. So these Gorn, to me, and I'll be honest, at least these versions just look like another sci-fi franchise's crocodile tanks, right? I know once you tell me they're Gorn, so I get it, but I wouldn't have called them Gorn. They're just like way more detailed alligators, crocodiles with bodies, right? They've lost that Gorn essence that I want from the design. Not to say they're not fine, but I wouldn't class them in the same way. So, because of course that game they wanted to give players like, well, we don't have limitations of
Yeah.
anything really. We can do this interesting design, reinvent them for our game, make them a flow that makes more sense, make variations, make I know they're very customizable. Like that makes more sense. Just say F it, we're doing our own thing. And then I believe there is a version where you can throw on an almost TOS head, so you can get that effect. But of course, that's just one variation of variation, right? So for me, they don't feel like Gorn, but if they look at the pure simplification of it's an alligator, crocodile, humanoid-esque alien, of course.
Yeah.
But
see, that's the thing that was awesome about the original Gorn. Because honestly, the STO ones look very generic sci-fi alien or video game alien.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a unique feel to them.
Mm-mm.
The 60s Gorn always did. It always had that something about it was very unique, the more human-like body, less scaly, less reptilian almost in nature, but that very classic reptilian head. It felt unique to the world of Star Trek. Now the newer designs like STO, even the JJ one and the Strange New Worlds one seem kind of more like generic sci-fi reptilian species, right? So it kind of lost its uniqueness with some of the newer designs.
Because the limitation was a giant part of what made the aliens in Trek notable. The cleverness, invested in a complicated head sculpt for the Gorn. That's a great head. It's a really good design. The body's simpler, but the head's a great design.
Yeah.
But it's only got two elements to it. Human body, as you say, and an interesting head. And if you take both those away, what you're left with? Alligator alien. And the JJ one is just could be any race from any game or movie, and it'd be fine. But unless it was in the Star Trek universe, you wouldn't say it was a Gorn. You'd say it was a green alligator race.
It also has a tail, still, in the JJ game as well.
Yeah. Well, they're animals, aren't they? They're presented as more animalistic, which is why the Enterprise one's so interesting, because it is done by the team who did TNG. At least the descent, the follow through, and it is very different, but still kind of keeps that vibe while still being very different. They're like, right, we can push everything to the CG degree, but let's still keep the Gornisms in it. So it's a humanoid body without not leaning to be limited to a human skeleton. So you understand what it's trying to do, but now everything's out of proportion to a human, so it feels more alien, but it's still keeping that simple vibe, right? You understand what it's trying to do. The clothing obviously is very TOS. The head is far more reptilian. I certainly would have liked another element or two, but I do get it,
Yeah, Hans Pritchard says the TOS Gorn looks like it's wearing a dress, to be honest. Also, the very human-like proportions aren't ideal, but understandable. The head is fine, though. It has a fearsome look. Not a dress. I mean, it's just like a tunic, like a look that people have worn throughout history. It's not necessarily a dress, like just for females or whatever.
It's like Scottish people wear kilts.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just garb, right? It's
TNG people wear skants.
That random sex planet wore nothing almost. It's just a dress code, right? It's just a way of life,
Kyle Wong, though, throws in £5.
Thank you.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Before the Gorn discovered space travel, what host did they use to lay eggs? Good question. Maybe it was something on their planet, like giant herds of buffalo or something that are now extinct or on the verge of being extinct. So they decided they had to, out of necessity, had to start moving outward. Who knows? But good question. And Patrick throws in 11 euros. For me, the TOS and Enterprise versions are still the best. The animated versions also feel like Gorn, but the other ones are more general crocodile-like and could have been from any other franchise indeed.
Yeah. Not to say they're bad, but like I say, if you make an Andorian with antennae that are this big and make them green and blue hair, any other alien, right? Like unfortunately, the specificity is what makes them, a Romulan without with curved ears. Is that a Romulan anymore? That's a guy. Like this is why Vulcans, 7 out of 10 times have a bowl cut, because that's part of the aesthetic. Not every time, obviously, but it genuinely is part of the aesthetic, and because so many Vulcans have had it, it's clearly a cultural thing too through 1,000 years, right? From Enterprise into Discovery. So it's just a thing Not to say obviously you can't have bald Vulcans, etc. You can, and they work a lot of the time. But it's more than just a choice. It's a cultural thing, clearly, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the JJ one to the game one with those little spikes on its back, more like hairs or feathers or feather quills. They almost seem like they could like shoot them out and they'd be poisonous or something. It kind of has that
they
feel.
don't in the game.
No.
Yeah.
They use guns. They're
I know,
they're
but
sentient.
as additional feature.
No, not that I'm aware of.
So yeah, they feel very much like poison tipped, extra cool things. But back to the as we said at the start, it's amazing how now you compare the main three, TOS, Stranger Worlds, and Enterprise. The two newer ones, they do have a real resonance of body shape and form, and I imagine that they did look at the Enterprise one, right?
Oh yeah.
Because if you're gonna do best of both worlds in Gorn makeup, then yeah, utilize the body shape of the Enterprise and the head as inspiration for the head from TOS. Like that's a good way of doing it because you're not limited by a muscle suit, which is limiting for sure. And then how do you realize that in a CG in another practical suit? And something about the lankiness of the because that's the thing. The Stranger Worlds, he feels lanky. He feels very thin. He feels like that's not what TOS is. He's a very big, one note, flat. It's not elegant, right? I like the thinness of the Gorn. It gives it a different profile. The one in Stranger Worlds has that kind of thin, lanky form, and the guy's head is obviously in his neck and the fake head, so that's why it's disproportionate, right? But that works really well, and it's a really good comparison.
Yeah, it's actually fantastic that they got a human person in that suit.
I mean, that's flawless, right? As a concept, that was so brave to do. But I mean, you almost should have seen it coming with their ability to make marionettes for season 1. Bold, brave, interesting choice, and then to carry that through is incredible. But like I say, once you invest in a thing that works, practically, you could do a lot with that. They could even, ironically, shove him on the LED wall. Have him be on, a Gorn on a spaceship, and boom, you've now got almost no budget Gorn on a spaceship.
Yeah, like the prop they show him behind the scenes there, the full suit with that lighting. It looks phenomenal. I could see this thing on screen talking to Pike, or, it looks great. So, and Sergeant Montgomery says, also, didn't Kelvin Timeline McCoy say he helped a female Gorn give birth? Why are they laying eggs in people? Good question. It's Kelvin, I guess. I don't know. Also, a lot of people brought this up at the time in Lower Decks. Why does the female Gorn have mammaries? So they don't feed their young with milk, so why would she have boobs? Anyway, it's just one of those things, and I have no issue with that.
I mean, why can't Gorn feed their young with milk?
Because they're carnivorous and they kill their siblings.
Yeah, but that didn't exist yet. I'm saying from Lower Decks' point of view.
Oh no! Well, exactly.
Yeah,
but a lot of people said it's reptilian. Reptilians don't do that, they don't.
But they're space
lay
eggs.
I know. Don't argue with me. I agree with you. They should have boobs. All the boobs.
Stuart, we're putting the arguments to the audience. I'm not arguing with you. I'm talking.
You're arguing with me, and I feel attacked.
Talking it through with you, because then people hear both sides. Because you're right. It seems so odd to have these lovely references here and there to Gorn weddings and Gorn things, knowing that the Gorn wedding instantly leads to them going off, finding some victim, basically raping their body, making them a disgusting husk for infection. Obviously, hopefully thinking that time they can make surrogate fake bodies to and then put them in a locked room to let the babies kill each other. But then, as a Gorn mama, do you want your 8 children to kill each other to make one?
Yeah.
Don't know.
Memories are from mammals. That's what they call them. Sure, yeah. And the platypus lays eggs, yes, but that's like, platypus is a weird goddamn creature. So that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, why would this thing limit itself to human norms, as in Earth norms, right? It's an alien planet, alien.
Yeah.
Who's to say that after the Gorn 8 Gorn babies kill each other and one Gorn comes out, or if the Gorn milk lets it go from being feral to sentient?
Perfect.
and it's not milk so much as the DNA serum. Because think about it, if it's actually, this is actually a really interesting point. If it's not being gestated inside their species, then it's basically an animal that you destroyed another a thing for. But then as soon as you're making contact with the mother, maybe it's giving it that sentience fluid, helping it to push past the ferility and live. Kind of like in some versions of vampire films where vampires, when they're become a vampire for the first time, they're so feral that without that first bit of blood, they will kill anybody as soon as they can feed, and it gives them the clarity of thought to go past it. Which also in some other versions of the vampire, if they don't do that, once you commit to that first feed, then you're locked into being a vampire forever. If you don't, then you can get past it via other story means, and you are able to repress and get over it, because once you've committed your blood to blood layer, there are things.
I like it. Yeah, the ones that suck at the T-test, it's where they're the captain from Arena and the diplomat from the animated series.
Which also makes it more interesting, because if they are genetically modified to be this feral way, that if you don't give them the nutrients, if you don't choose to make them the higher life, there's some sci-fi show where there's like a bee's nectar that does this, that evolves a species past their baby state. What is that show, guys? I know it. I like the show or the movie. I can't remember, but it's some sort of like queen's nectar that evolves them. So maybe the ones we see in the planet are left to be feral, and they're just like dogs, the equivalent, monster who still respect the pheromones of the adults, but if they're not treated in a way that evolves them, they're left just to be whatever.
Just drop them off on a planet to survival of the fittest. Come back like a year later, find out who's still alive. They get upgraded.
Or that, or just pulled in and left in these little hut farmhouse inside ships and sent to other planets and to cause whatever. Especially if
Dirt is King, or DRT is King, throws in $5.
Thank you.
I support Gorn breasts. How else am I supposed to go boldly into her tunic? I support them too, with both hands. I'm a bad person now. I'm in trouble.
Slurm from Vitrama. Bosh. Thank you. Good job. Well done.
Vandal. Dang,
Point
I almost missed this conversation. Hold on. I'll make some popcorn. That's funny. It was a good conversation, and we're almost at 100 likes, guys.
Yeah.
We also have 147 votes in the poll. That's awesome. If you haven't voted, do that now. We will close that poll out soon.
At 150, I have another idea for a poll. So, guys, 3 more votes in the poll. Lay your vote down. And a rarity, Stuart, not a single vote for JJ Game.
I noticed that. We're finally going to have a 0. And the one thing that I insisted was in this goddamn video. I enjoy the Gorn from that game. They're fun to shoot. And they move quite quick. They're amazing.
But not Xenomorphian.
No, not at all. More like Velociraptor, though. So.
Yeah, but go vote in the poll, guys. 150 will close out with 2 more votes.
And 7 more likes to get to 100. 7 more likes.
There we go.
Oh, look. JJ Game got 1%. Because nobody wants us to have a 0% in our polls. It's just the way it is.
Oh, no. The person... They trolled us by clicking yes, no, and it's got 0 in the end.
Oh, well. There we got a 0%. Yay!
Final vote score is TOS, TAS, Lower Decks, and Square Season 1. Yes, for realsies. 40% is the favourite design. 33%, which is a strong showing, Stranger Worlds. 25% Enterprise, which does make a 65% for Prime Canon variants. Interesting. I think that's probably a good way of the slope.
Yeah.
Interesting. I got a poll.
And the Doctor says, JJ Game, not familiar. Yeah, after the 2009 film, there was a 2009 video game just called Star Trek. And it was a cooperative one. You were Kirk or Spock. You work together, or you use the AI, which is awful. But if you play it 2-player, it's really fun. And it's basically the events between the first movie and Into Darkness. And the ship gets invaded by Gorn, and there's a whole bunch of other things you got to do as well. But you actually see a real engineering room on the JJ Prize, not a brewery. It actually looks like an engineering room, and it's good. It's a good design. I really enjoyed it. The interiors of the ship look amazing. You get to go through turbolift shafts, and they're not Discovery-esque large. They're round, and the turbolift is in the middle of a ball which rolls through these things. So
that's true, but all turbolifts are 44 decks.
Yeah, they meant this game, man.
92% empty space. What are you about? Get over yourself, Stuart. Jesus. Vote the poll, Stuart. Or read the poll. Vote the poll. Say the poll. The poll, Stuart.
You want to see my poll? Do you think Strange New Worlds should show a TOS-esque Captain Gorn in Season 3? Strange New Worlds Gorn are warrior drone types. Yes. Use both designs. Or no, Strange New Worlds Gorn are new Gorn. I like this poll. And I like the results thus far. Go vote, guys. Did the Gorn play basketball on Cestus 3? With photonic shells, yes. Kyrian Sport says, I suppose a Hirogen was a sort of equivalent. Yeah, I mean, if you want to think that the one from Arena that's a captain is more in control and it has like the warrior class kind of underneath it, you could very much compare them to the Horda and the Hirogen. We actually mentioned that earlier. So, and I have no problem with that. I think that's actually kind of an interesting cultural thing, you know? So.
Yeah, it depends if they want to acknowledge it or retcon it. I mean, there's certainly, you know, just... But there feels like there's an avenue to that, which didn't in Season 1. You know,
yeah.
Hard to give them that much credit when it's so different. Because you can imagine Xenogorn being the only avenue, right?
Yeah.
And just going for the cool, dramatic take on it.
And Hans Pritcher says, I'd like to see the original type on Strange New Worlds. I wouldn't put it past them. They have had a good track record doing some things right. Yes. And course correcting along the way to really kind of have that TOS vibe. So, yeah, you got to give them credit more so than Discovery, for sure.
And it's
Discovery said that we're too far gone. There's no way to fix it. Let's just go to the distant goddamn future and just not screw anything else up. So,
but it's amazing how so many things they can either nail or get or go far away from in Stranger Worlds. Like the captain's quarters being insane is so radically removed from the logic of the canon, and you get a communicator which is so radically close to the canon. It's amazing that some swings and misses and some swings hit. They vary so much that who the hell knows, right? I mean, the dress uniform's pretty damn good. And the new Tellarites really like they it's all over the place as it comes to getting close or not. So will there be new ones?
You're saying swinging a hit. I read basketball instead of baseball. Sorry, my fault. My dyslexia kicked in. So the doctor says baseball in DS9. Cestus had a team. Sure. Can you imagine a Gorn baseball team fighting the Niners? Hey, that'd be kind of cool.
Good.
And we know that the Gorn come to the rescue, or at least help in Prodigy. We see a Gorn ship show up. So they're not unreasonable creatures by any means. So something's gotta give. Something's gotta happen. And explain the big thing to explain the disparity is what we know about the Gorn in Arena, and it could be very much a classified need to know basis. So Spock knows about it, just doesn't say anything. Kirk never learned about it. As far as like the final diplomatic solution to the Gorn problem, because the Gorn, I think, were known about in TOS to the point where we don't know anything about the Gorn, but we know the Gorn exist. You know what I mean? So you could fix things, and I want to see how they do if they try.
Well, it's one of those things that, because I remember I watched the episode as soon as the original Gorn episode came out, because I was like, oh my god, how's this going to connect? And it doesn't really design-wise, but like you say, classified or whatever. But of course, you know, you look at Nimoy, he's not staring at the view screen thinking, oh, I fought one once, stabbed it in the face, saved my once girlfriend.
Look at Uhura like, shit.
Remember that time we fought them? And like, there's obviously none of that is in the performance, because it's so far from... Clearly the impetus of the scene was, look, a new alien race that we sort of know a little bit about, but we really don't. It might come back in later seasons if fans like. Oh wait, it got cancelled.
Yeah.
Like that's clearly what they were doing, and having admirals be for 2 or 3 years minimum, knowing about this Gorn potential invasion, and of course La'an growing up on a Gorn prison planet, like that's so intense. Because imagine if she got debriefed, she'd say everything she know. She could describe multiple Gorn variants. She could, all this stuff would be there. They're not in any way.
Yeah.
And it's not as if, I remember she was saying stuff. So Gorns aren't classified. She's telling anybody on any mission about what she sees. So they're not classified in any way.
Kyrian Spores, though, says perhaps in TOS they only knew of Strange New Worlds variants, so don't initially recognize Arena. They do, though. Immediately they say we got attacked by the Gorn. Chase that Gorn ship.
Yep.
So they know it's the Gorn. So that doesn't make much sense. Let's see. Jimmy Blether says the viewing slits for the actor in the original suit could be heat-sensing pits, to be honest. Yeah. And like I said, they even translated those over into the skull for Discovery. Those slits are in the skull. Mm-hmm. So some kind of sensory organ. Love it.
Well, because that's the canon, right? It's just the rocket science it noteth be.
And Space Thing Reckoning throws in $5. Thank you so much. Really weird that they would course correct so hard on the Klingons TOS visual update and then change the Gorn so much. Should have been a new species. Yeah, which gives me hope that there's a plan. There's a bigger plan at play here. So after all the Strange New Worlds is done, after 5 or 6 seasons and it's done, it's over, we can look back and go, remember when we thought the Gorn were going to be done dirty? No, they fixed all that and they made it line up perfectly. Yes, good job. Hopefully that's the plan.
I mean, there's something very real to say there's no such thing as bad publicity. So you introduce Gorn that are so removed that people are going to talk about, and fans are going to complain because there's obviously a reason to complain. But you in your head know, but in season 3/4, if we get there, which is obviously funny because if they don't ever get season 3 or 4, then you've done the damage, right? But if we get 3 and 4, we'll lead every year into the real Gorn, and they'll be part of this evolution. We'll deepen them, and we'll be this great Gorn subspecies, explorative show. You just got to get there to make, like Brian Fuller, he did all these redesigns with a concept, as we always say. The original Discovery was meant to be a silhouette of a Bert D7 to hide from sensors. That was part of the plan. Once it's removed, that goes away. It just becomes a shitty design for shitty reasons. The reason is gone. So fun to put it back in.
E.R. Mixon's craziest theory says semantics save us all. In TOS, they said that they knew little about this region of space, and Kirk referred to it as a creature that calls itself a Gorn. The ship was unidentified until they contacted. A creature that calls itself a Gorn. Yeah. But, yeah. There you go.
Which is them saying it's a Gorn.
Yes.
I mean, that's just a 60s... But
it's also like we haven't had this conflict with the Gorn, where people were, like, saved from Gorn birthing planets. It's
widely known.
Yeah, exactly.
Spock knew La'an. Spock saw a breeding planet because he was in her brain once. He knows exactly what a breeding planet looks like. Intimately, because, boy, you feel mind meld feels when you feel mind meld feels. So he knew. He knew.
And Hezra says, I think a twist will occur, maybe highlighting a cultural misunderstanding or stereotype. Gorn are still aggressive, but violent ones, not Gorn. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that basically links to our subspecies, bred for grr, let's go fight. What's interesting, though, is that what are they telling us about the Gorn that boards? That, well, yeah, I assume it's the same dude, the same between both scenes. Slow, methodical, thoughtful, right?
Well,
wasn't as animalistic by any means.
Michael Williams says the Gorn in the spacesuit looks small, no bigger than a human. In TOS, they are Hulk. Are we seeing baby, child, teenager, and eventually adult in hulking TOS form? Well, the one in Strange New Worlds is supposed to be like 6'8", 6'9", something like that, almost 7 feet tall. Maybe even larger. because they say that in the behind the scenes stuff. And you look at when the Kirk's fighting from Rena, it's not that much bigger than Kirk.
Well, it's just the mask height.
Yeah.
Big guy, I mean, Shatner's not small, and then mask height.
So.
But yeah, you can see from the behind the scenes, it's meant to be big. You know, not radically big, but big.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Not a giant, just, you know, as soon as you add a extra neck detail, you can add an extra half, foot. When you make it distinct, ours are quite integrated in and just part of the, part of our height, whatever.
Yeah. Kind of sounds like there's just in the Gorn were like the Herc for the Klingons. The story is so far near the Herc from STO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it depends how they're going in for season 3. Because they do a giant Gorn war arc. It kind of really goes in the face of TOS. And how many times can you do the old? We're gonna wipe all memory again because that was the Discovery can see. Just go into the classifier and have you talk about them.
Yeah.
Because in theory, if the okay, right, ring. Hey, this is the Discovery showrunner. Hi, this is the Strange Worlds showrunner. So we hear you want to put some Gorn in. Yes, thank you. So we're putting Gorn in. Can you write a line in your 31st Century show that says that all information of the Gorn was wiped by accident by a computer virus in 2266? The fuck sort of reference is that? Yeah, we need it to fix a plot hole of just using them. I guess. They write it. Oh, look! Now the Gorn have been, it could be that, right? There could be some line, like with a Picard Golem, like one show nullifies the other show, which is both clever and also like, you just loopholed your way into a solution.
Yeah. And Lucky Cantrell 13 says, will the writers' strike delay season 3? No, season 3 is already written and ready to go. What's going to delay it is the actors' strike. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also, in theory, writer strikes do delay things because, of course, you do rewrites on set. It's like Deadpool 3's big problem with the writer strike. They were filming it, but Ryan Reynolds liked to improv and do versions. But the writer strike meant that he could legally only do the script. And on Deadpool 1, there are scenes where he did 10 to 15 versions, and they just picked the best one. And the line was scripted, and he helped write it, so that he knew the idea of the line. He just went for it. And if you only do the one version, then obviously that does remove that improv Deadpoolness, because then Ryan's just having fun, and you can tell because he's just trying to be fun, versus just saying a line. Hey, saying a line. So that does affect, for sure. Not being able to do rewrites, especially on a series where things are going to change, or maybe a guest star is amazing, like, I'd love to put in this, oh, fuck, well, we can't, we're locked in. Especially if then the writer strike ends after we finish filming, they just say, well, we're not going to bring him back, because that'll cost us, $30,000. Speaking of, no Cybok. I'm still annoyed. What has Cybok done? I get season 3, I hope.
Angel.
Yeah.
Kyrian Spores. Remember in Arena, even if Spock wanted to offer advice, he couldn't speak to Kirk. It's true. But he didn't have that, he's Vulcan, so he wouldn't necessarily do that, but if only he could find, a piece of railing to stab through its space helmet. Wait, it's not wearing one. Damn.
That's what Gorn looks like without the giant hulking spacesuit, I thought. And again, there's no way you could do this, but you would think, based on these 2 episodes alone, season 1, season 2, that Spock would turn to Uhura and say something about, oh, it's them again. There'd be something. There will be something. Those are the only 2 people on the bridge that mutually fought out. Wow, was Scotty in the scene? I mean, he saw the brutalization of the people. He did traps. He would look at Scott and say, Mr. Scott, can we do anti-Gorn things like you did on this planet 12 years ago? Aye, Captain!
Right.
Oh, Commander. Like, there's 3 on the bridge that have intimate knowledge of Gorn in tactical situations. Not often is the Enterprise rocked with fire, as in space fire, that then causes... And both times they fought the Gorn, very big damage. Very notable. The first time they fought them, the entire ship of civilians got blown up. Uhura's very people-orientated. She would feel something about losing the civilians next to the ship. It connected as part of that trap. there's obviously none of that. There couldn't be, but the fact there's none of that, that's there. That is, they have nothing personal about it, which is why obviously, number one and Spock, those scenes aren't really there as well, etc.
Space Scene: The Reckoning. I really hope we aren't building up to a major war. This time period is established as the golden age of exploration. It should be a time marked by constant. It shouldn't be a time marked by constant wars in the Federation near death. I agree. It is expanding outward, running. We know that there's the Klingons, there's the Romulans. That's bad. Let's stay away from that. Got the borders set up. Cool. So yeah, I don't think Strange New Worlds will ever do a season-wide arc of anything. It's not their thing to do. They're keeping the episodic feel. Even the Gorn were mentioned like 2 or 3 times during the course of the season. Sure, they're a problem, but they're not focused on. So I don't think that season 3 is going. I think we'll see the Gorn for the first episode of season 3, and that's probably it. It'll all be wrapped up with that. I think that's my thought anyway. There will not be a season-wide arc of war like Discovery had with the Klingons. They're not going to do that again.
Well, one of their selling points is episodic.
Yeah.
That's one of their initial showrunner pitches, is getting you back to that classic feel, to try and best of both worlds, the fan base. We're doing episodic Trek that you've asked for, with some character serialization. There's heavy character serialization, to Pring through 2 years, Chapel through 2 years. I mean, that's what's there, right? Not necessarily big story elements. And the Gorn were minimally to the point of, really? Is that all we're getting? We're getting 3 references that are not blink and you miss them, but like, oh, this thing's happening. Very, very minimal.
Yeah. Let's see, we're at 118 likes. That is awesome. Can we get another 2 likes to get to 120? That's another great number. 2 more likes. That's it. That's all we need. Keep the super chats flowing. Let the super chats flow through you. Yeah. We want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. So,
yeah, you guys have good ideas. I'm just going through and checking. So my gut says that that Scotty is on the bridge. Yeah, Scotty's. Yeah, everybody's on the bridge in Arena. When Spock's in the captain's chair, Uhura, Scotty, and Bones are all standing next to him, behind him, looking out. 3 of them fought in a Gorn conflict, and they didn't mention anything.
Well, shit.
But it has happened, Doctor.
Tom says, I bet that Strange New Worlds makes peace with the Gorn, so that Kirk's surprise in Arena isn't that he doesn't know what the race is, but that he's surprised they're being aggressive. Maybe they'll establish that the Gorn that were bombing the Federation colony in the beginning of Arena were actually rogue Gorn.
We know very little about that section.
It goes against the peace treaty. It goes against how Gorn are. Maybe, sure.
Wrong. Perhaps. That is something best decided.
I'm just watching TOS. Hold on.
Yeah.
Very low volume, so if it doesn't catch it, because I can lip read, so I want to hear.
Guys, keep hitting that like button, or I'll hit it once only.
Or 3 times.
We hit 121 now, so let's do another 9 likes. 9 people out there haven't hit it. Get to 130. But and no new members during this live, so if you want to consider joining, hit that join button. Take a look at the options.
I mean, hey. Maybe if you join as captain today, we'll put a Gorn ship in just for you.
Ooh.
Now, that is not a thing you normally get as a... Yeah.
Jimmy says, Sam, we can hear the TOS audio.
I'm sure you can, but it's low. I still have to hear it as well, so... But it's very low. Yeah, literally the entire team are watching Kirk fight a Gorn on the view screen with multiple shots of the Gorn. And they're not mentioning any ever fighting him in the past. Despite 3 of them fighting him, in essence. Crazy, Stuart, as if they didn't intend for the Gorn to be. And Uhura's like, oh, look, a Gorn. Look at that thing.
Yeah. Kirian Spores says, am I right in assuming that Scotty does not become chief engineer until Kirk? Yeah, I think so. Around the same time as Kirk, anyway. Might mean Pelia for the rest of Strange New Worlds. Well, our thought is that Scotty might join the team and be working underneath Pelia, kind of learning the ropes, so to speak. And then once she leaves, because she's been freaked out this last episode. I assume she's probably going to leave because it's not for her. She wants to go back to teaching, and goes back to the academy, and therefore maybe recommends him for the position. Who knows?
Matthew asks, why would they mention anything? They can't do anything. Because can't do anything. They might interact and talk, and
they were actively really trying to do anything, but they should have been discussing options at least. Finding a way to punch a signal through, and I know they couldn't. I understand that, guys, but if you can talk to Kirk in some way.
Yeah, I would think you'd be more inclined to talk small talk if you can't do anything, so you just have to sit there and watch. So you'd
like
talk...
watching a football game with some wings.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because Scotty did do things with the Gorn, so he goes to Scott and says, Scotty, Mr. Scott, you have much experience with Gorn tech. You built some. What do you think? Like, you absolutely would. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah. If I go to you and we both had a mutual thing, let's not mention it. It's not try and help a situation by mentioning a mutual thing. That's okay.
They mention things that happen in past episodes a lot. Well, not a lot. Enough that it's realistic in TNG and stuff. So, yeah. Anyway.
And also, this is now new Trek, which knows continuity, as in they have internal continuity. We're adding the present day knowledge into TOS, which they also didn't have, but we approach them as real people. In Stranger World, they do refer, like Pike just referred to the musical episode, so you can now expect characters to refer to past episodes. That hasn't, I mean, TNG wasn't a thing, but in DS9 they certainly did. Voyager they sometimes did, but it was more about the adventure forward rather than looking back. DS9 they definitely
TNG did occasionally.
Sure, but it wasn't expected.
No.
And then Enterprise they certainly did. Every other show they certainly do. So you would write that now. That's what we're judging.
Sergeant Mako says Gorn assimilate biologically and assume qualities of the species that infect with their eggs. No, they're not xenomorphs. That's why they look more human in TOS. No, I don't think so. That would make them very dull and boring as a culture, I think, because that's one of the great things about the xenomorphs is it's very animalistic. It's just to propagate. It's just to create new life and continue on and infect more. So
was to create new
I don't think it would work for the Gorn.
And not new civilizations. They aren't aiming to boldly go, and they'll go where everyone's gone before. You want to hang up now, don't you?
In Interplay games, they had ramming hulls. Yes, the Gorn and Starfleet Command. Those are cool ships, by the way.
Like
I was going to say, and Yago throws in 50 krona.
Oh, thank you.
Keep up the good work. Cheers from Sweden.
Welcome. You. Hope you come around more often. Because it's not that the idea of them evolving with new species is not interesting. It's just that it feels so trodden on as an already been done by Alien. Like, that shockingly felt like it was a one and done concept. Especially as you then create this infinite regress of anything can be a Gorn.
Yeah.
Because obviously once you're second gen, so say you go into a moose, it's now everything four-legged. That spawns creatures that go into a pelican. You've now got four-legged with two longer legs that have wings. Now you go into a pelican goes into a lion. You've now got a two-legged with wing with a mane. It's no longer green. Is that a Gorn still? And now and after 2 generations, you've lost anything. Like and yes, you could say the pure blood Gorn only infect certain species, but then you create really instant eugenics because now they have to breed with one race to create the pure Gorn, and then it becomes just really weird. And limiting the freedom of the multi-evolution makes a point. If you ever want to see the same Gorn twice, it creates a horrible thing. Or if only the Gorn through human whatever. Now they have to biologically F with humans for hundreds of years, or it turns it, I think, into something really diluted because there's never a true Gorn. Certainly isn't the Gorn like the same as 1,000 years ago. there is no real Gorn. It's just they're not even crocodiles, are they? Because they would go through multiple iterations. There is no Gorn. There is a planet called Gornania, and anything from it is a Gorn. That's just dull to me. I'm sorry. It's just... Now, if they're modified to create subspecies for brutalizing other cultures to make a hegemony, but it itself is dull to me.
Angel Baby Card says, however, upon Generation 2, TOS Gorn's substantially heavier body results in low dexterity as a trade-off, LOL. I hope you're joking because, the Gorn, basically, the planet they were on, I assume the gravity wasn't what the Gorn was used to, or the temperature. That's slowing them down. It is a reptile, so if it was a little bit cooler than it needed, it would move slower, be more lethargic. So...
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just silly.
Well, it wasn't a good plan for either of them, right? Because Kirk would, in theory, without each drinking it slower, less able as time went on. I mean, they were both being affected. You kind of got that vague sense from it.
Yeah.
But you got the sense that the Gorn was more adapted for it. It's what I got, as if Kirk was being worn down. The Gorn had more. That's what I got from the episode anyway. That's why the brain power is important, because the Gorn was still using physicality over the brain power of Kirk, because Kirk could outthink it before it'd be worn down and eaten. Yeah. Or killed, etc.
So Gorn had a lot of stamina. Kirk was burning his off pretty quick.
So I had to make a cannon out of a tube.
And Trent C says, I agree. It sounds more like Magog than Xenomorph.
And yeah, Kirk's fine to not know. But again, he would have a briefing saying this crocodile alien... I mean, he would probably think, well, this is near Gorn space, because I doubt this Gorn is exploring strange new worlds 1,000 light years away. I mean, there's only... Like, if, you're not going to find a Romulan the other side of the quadrant very often. That would take you months to get to, so you're not going to find fleets there without a very distinct reason. And if you go through your source of space, like... So the Gorn are going to stay in their relative vicinity. So why Federation is so important, because it expanded to this peaceful, because obviously planets kept saying yes, we'll be part of Federation, expanding space, whatever. It's a nice unifying thing. That's why you need the Klingons Romulans to be on the same border, otherwise they wouldn't have a war at all times. That's why you never hear a Tholian Romulan war, because they're not. You're not going to fight across giant parsec, Unless you're in JJ, then of course it takes you 1 day to get from Kronos to Earth. Then everything's a freaking war, because...
That's the thing with Starfleet battles. The reason we didn't hear from the Romulans from TOS to TNG, because in TNG, we hadn't heard from the Romulans in a long time. It turns out they were fighting a war on their other border with the Gorn. That's why the Gorn in Starfleet battles have plasma-based weaponry. They have plasma torpedoes. They're fighting with the Romulans pretty consistently. So, Liang Studios has a great comment, though. The eyes of classic Gorn can be easily explained with contacts or inner eyelids to protect against harsh light. I like the inner eyelid. Slide that down when there's too much UV.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really smart, actually, because then obviously it's more darkly, it's on a dark set the entire time. Spaceship quite controlled. In the spacesuit, I'm sure the spacesuit has some anti-UV thing, so inbuilt it. Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's a really good idea. It's nice when things just make sense, isn't it? Don't have to debate them. So, that makes sense.
So I think Strange New Worlds is doing a pretty good job. Actually, now that we've seen an adult Gorn. When we just seen the little baby zipping around the ship, acting all xenomorphy, we were very upset and dissuaded. But now seeing one that's more adult-like, I'm more optimistic, especially when it's shown in this lineup. It kind of fits in, Like
or at least there's an avenue to fit in.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say that. There's the opportunity for them to actually make this make sense with TOS canon. But the big issue with TOS canon is the whole not really anybody knowing much about the Gorn. Unexplored region of space and all that. So, but I mean, even the Gorn annexing this planet in this episode is very Gorn-like, because that's what they did in Arena. The Federation had an outpost there. All of a sudden, the Gorn decided, you know what? That's our space. We're going to start attacking that. So,
but of course,
they are keeping things,
But of course,
somewhat.
Technically, it's not a Federation outpost, so they're not technically breaking the rules. Like, Well, yeah, but it's 3 minutes outside our space, so it's pretty. They're good. They're trying to be mean to us. That's what they're doing.
And Tim Rose says the Gorn on Enterprise was an alternate universe Gorn. Yes, he was.
That's why you can get a jail free with that one as well.
Yeah.
But it's unlikely that universe, given humans look the same.
Yeah.
Unlikely they're radically different unless you giant, caveat the caveat of the caveat, which we can caveat. But, until we have a reason to caveat, we're not going to caveat the caveat.
But Alan Parr says, I trust the Strange New World writers have a plan rather than opposed to Disco writers' YOLO approach to canon. Yes, that's exactly right. That's what I have faith that the Strange New Worlds, because they've done such a good job, actually do have something up their sleeve with this one. So,
yeah, I mean, like I said, the fact that it's a dude in the suit was a really, really, really good sign.
Yeah.
Because that grounds it to limitations that helped make the original memorable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it was a dude in a suit, but an expensive, intricate suit for the time, right? That's good for TOS. Like, that's good for the 1960s. Like, it still looks good today, at least the aesthetic, and then it's good, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sergeant Montgomery has a great comment there too. Would be cool if the Gorn were actually an offshoot of the Voth. Yeah. Earth dinosaurs that just evolved and got separated from the more gentle Voth, which went to the Delta Quadrant. These guys stuck around, and they're more of the carnivore species. So,
yeah, maybe they're the Romulans, the Voths. Vulcans, they found a second home, and then got pissed, and then made a third home in the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah.
Because there's all of the potential here, and we're not dealing with, like I say, Discovery writers who took the Klingons and shit on them because it was 3 different showrunners, right? Strange Worlds, great Klingons, no problem. They're doing their own thing, but it's at least mindful. And you imagine the news headlines if a TOS Gorn shows up, and even if they even go one cleverer, pick a bodybuilder with a big guy, really nice animatronic head, which they've obviously made, and lip sync, and then subtitle on top. Like the bodybuilder doesn't have to act, right? Like, but that's fine. And put him in a full uniform, like we saw in Lower Decks, the full Gorn uniform, kind of a nice Babylon 5 uniform, no problem. I mean, the cojones to do that would be great. I'd love to see a faithful Gorn head with a budget of a Linus. The skin texture and the eyes moving, like you say, the audience said, you can have a moment when the new pupils come over to block, maybe they're in a firefight, there's a flashbang, and they come down and they can see through them, and yet Pred Division, whatever. Really could be special. Really, really could be special. And it feels within the grasp.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a bold choice by them, because they're kind of acknowledging the original while still doing their own thing. But it'd be real, you'd get headlines, Strange Worlds of the Impossible, do both.
Yeah.
Somehow did both. They visually updated and rebooted at the same time, continued the logic completely. It's like, oh, okay, good job.
Well, Yago says, do we know for a fact that Strange New World Season 3 was written and not affected by the strike? Yeah, they were going into pre-production, which means the scripts would have been written, or at least almost completely written. They could have been doing some, like Sandra says, some rewrites and stuff along the way. And maybe the last episode or 2 might not have been completely fully written. I don't know how pre-production works. But yeah, they were ramping up to start filming. So
see, I thought they'd already started filming.
I had heard that too, but I thought you shut me down on that one, so I wasn't sure.
No, you'd said they filmed loads of it. I think they'd filmed some.
No, I just said they started filming.
Yeah,
and probably have like an episode or 2 in the bank kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have. I think they, based on when I heard they filmed, they probably have 3, if not 4, if not 5, with potentially scenes being waiting to go, and then hard stop, etc. Because it would have been weird if they hadn't started. I know this had pre-production a long time ago because I heard from an insider. But a long time ago. But obviously, with the LED wall, that involves a lot of lead up. You've got to do it ahead of time. And as I said in our last live, season 3 is an important season because it isn't. It isn't the first season where we're using leftover budget in a sense from our 2-year contract. What can we keep over to season 2? We're going to put in season 1 majority. Now we've got a fresh budget. They can do fresh things, which is exciting. Yeah. They could design new, and not they're limited truly by season 2, like it was actually a good thing. But they could do new things in a budget sort of way.
Galadorn 2 says STO called them Spec Ops lenses.
Boom.
Perfect. DRT or Dirt is King. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Throws in $5. Do you think there's a chance to see Cations or Kzinti in Strange New Worlds? They have the technology to make one in a suit like Voyage Home. Yeah, absolutely. There's potential to see both of those in Strange New Worlds. And I would be upset if we didn't, actually. I would like to get introduced to Emrys, have her come on the Enterprise for an episode or something. Yeah.
I mean, Kzinti in Stations would be fun. Kzinti for sure. But isn't Kzinti the one owned by not Trek?
David Niven, yeah. Well, it's not. I don't know if it's still owned by him. Trek has permission to use it, so.
Yeah.
But it was for his Ringworld series or something.
Yeah, you're right. It was in Lower Decks. So yeah. I mean, obviously each show's a different contract, right? Like does not mean everyone has it. But they were, which is wonderful. I mean, it's expensive. Although given how little Linus was in the show, it's odd they put that much money into a really incredible prosthetic to barely use it, right? I mean, Tellarite, they've made some really nice Tellarites this year. That guy is SPAC. But great, like, super. Look, those two Andorians walking by. That took those guys 4 hours each to get to okay, cool, thank you. Give them more lines, okay. No, I'd be great to say Kzinti.
Yeah, DRT is King. He just said that there's a Kzinti in Lower Decks. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure live action would be entirely different contract to animation. Just that's different unions and different. Also more expensive. But they've got so much potential. I mean, they could go as far as to. We know that obviously Picard's in 3, linked in with Stowe. You can imagine if they want to go really bold, like just top tier bold. We make Gorn a giant antagonist somehow, with an end game in mind. How? And they could even acknowledge the various other like a multiverse film. Look, this is Doctor Strange from this universe, and he's now got a goatee and blah, blah. You could have as we see in this image, the Gorn Bouncers, the Stowe version, and the Gorn Hunter, or the Gorn Runner, the JJ version, and the Gorn Warrior, the Stranger Worlds version, the Gorn Barber, the Enterprise version. he swapped jobs, late life, midlife crisis, right? He swapped jobs, and the Gorn Captain, the Gorn Hero, the Gorn Alligator. You could have a lot of fun with that if you wanted to fully commit. And then you imagine this great scene in a Gorn ship, and there's this just room, and every table there's a new Gorn sub-variant, this giant cast bullshit struck, like in a good way, like, oh my god, what the hell? I was like, fucking hell. Every Gorn is here for every iteration of every Trek. Huh. And only one have birthing planets.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
But I think we're in the final super chat time. Stuart?
I think so, yeah.
Final thoughts? So I want to know you guys' final thought. Did we convince you? Did we make you think twice? Did we, where are you guys?
Expand your mind. Anyway.
I mean, the poll result seems to be working with us.
Yeah. You guys definitely came up with some great comments and suggestions, so we appreciate all of that. But please super chat in if anything you do want us to talk about in this regard. We want to talk about it, so. And hit like if you haven't. We have 134. Could we get another 16 to get to 150? That would be amazing. If you're one of the 16 people that hasn't hit like, please do so.
Yeah. But yeah, fundamentally, we like to go from Stranger Worlds. We see a legacy in collection. certainly they pulled us down from the cliff of season 1.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And
It's great learning the behind the scenes stuff where they came out with the Gorn, adult Gorn first, and worked backwards so that they knew about the adult Gorn in season 1. That was great.
Although they said that, but also they said, oh, we knew the Klingons had sensory things that could be hidden by hair, and people can say, you know, lie on the canon. We know they do lie often. And by lie, I mean entirely misrepresent the truth based on their need for this perspective. Remember, Stuart, he's not Khan.
It's John Harrison.
Yes.
I
My name is John.
It's John Harriman.
Yeah, no, I know, right?
What?
Yeah, that's what happened to John Harriman. He went to an alternate timeline and became an evil dictator person. Crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Star Trek Lower Decks explains so much continuity issues there, like the encyclopedia for Trekyards. Yeah, that's why Lower Decks is so great. They know it all and they throw it all in just one pot and just have fun. So, yeah.
And you stuff you wouldn't expect to see, like the winged creature people from the animated series. Like, what? They're back? Oh my god. Yeah. Okay, cool. Crazy stuff like that. So do you have any closing thoughts, Stuart? Any?
Just that I'm hopeful. Like I said, the Strange New Worlds people seem to have a handle on things. They tend to plan things out a little bit better than Discovery people did. So I'm hoping that, honestly, they have a plan in motion for this. We have heard from the writer of this episode that the events of TOS can be reconciled. So if they have a plan, and if it's carried out perfectly, they could not make a grievous mistake. So that's kind of my final thought. I'm just looking forward to seeing where this goes. I'm happy with the adult Gorn we got. I mean, it looks very impressive. I just hope they don't have tails. I hope it's part of the suit. Things like that. Like, there's things that need to kind of happen, at least for me, especially looking at the pictures we were looking at today of all the Gorn of the past. There's no sense changing them dramatically. So that's kind of my thought. Just I'm hopeful for Strange New Worlds. How about you?
Yeah, no, basically a mirror of that. But it would certainly be fun if season 3 starts with the cliffhanger reveal, and of course, new budgets. They build a Gorn bridge, and the first shot is going back to Pike's. What do we do, Captain? What do we do, Captain? Pause. Tile sequence. Cuts next episode. The exact reverse angle of a character on the Gorn bridge. Look at the Gorn view screen. The character turns. It's a TOS Gorn. We're like, holy shit! And he speaks, and because it's on their ship, they can speak. Speak normally, and then he goes and sits down in his chair, and next to him are 2 warrior Gorn, and say, go and attack them. You're like, wow.
Can we afford to start a war with the Federation?
Only if we wipe all their databases. Like, you could blow people's mind.
That's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like, you could blow people's minds so easily with, just that instant in from 2. From season 2 and season 3 would really just hit home, and just have that Captain Gorn. Captain Gorn. It's like a Mr. Tricorder. It's Captain Gorn. Would just be mind blowing, and then also you can imagine. Again, if you're really going to go into the whole mind wipe thing, which is okay, right? We can go with that. We can say prisoners don't need memories, etc. Whatever, fine. You could have them go down, talk to Chapel, and. Because, the Gorn and TOS didn't have access to his tech. So you could argue they could speak Universal, although they have enough translator. They just didn't physically have one on location. Neither did...
Yeah.
Well, I guess, they were once they knew they had it, but they didn't have their own version, right? They didn't have whatever. So you could argue that quite happily, I think. So you could have them go down, talk to Chapel and Mbenga, and have a really, really interesting scene where it's like... And they obviously didn't see the Gorn. So you could have 2 different perspectives of the Gorn. That would create confusion of what is a real Gorn. We don't know. You have so much fun with that.
And Rolas says, now what do you think will happen? We'll talk about that another live. It'd be fun to speculate how. I love the way Sam started that, because seeing the Enterprise on a view screen with the Gorn from the back, and he turns around, it's a TOS Gorn, be like, yes. Like that's just the brilliant way to do it, right?
Yeah, especially if you then, as you'd said, and this again entirely off our review, but you'd said, what if there's actually some multi-Gorn faction here? So if that you reverse representations, that he's now a relatively friendly Gorn, and this is the problem with different subset to the planet thing. We're here to solve that problem, and so he's not there to fight. But of course, they're a more aggressive species, so them disabling your shields and disabling you is their equivalent to a shot across the bow. I'm not trying to hurt you.
Well,
why are you attacking us? We're not trying to disable you. There's a difference. It's like, well, is there? Yes.
Yeah, it's the small hunter ships that are attacking the Enterprise right now, and they said there's a bigger one coming in. You find if the bigger one takes out the smaller ones, you're like, we're sorry, man, because this is not how we do things.
Yeah, you can have a really nice twist there.
Yeah.
And maybe even, hey, what if this would be a huge thematic reveal, but the Gorn cruiser battleship beamed up the prisoners to rescue them from baby Gorn who were feral, and well, we're not here to start the war. We actually put the or even maybe they wow, this is just coming to me. What if they put that line in the sand as a way of saying, if we don't do this, Starfleet will be attacked by the renegade Gorn, and that will start a war. So we have to force Starfleet's hand by putting a line in the sand so we can come in and deal with them and stop a bigger incident because these Gorn screwed up and they attacked Starfleet. That could be really nice, a twist. Really nice. What do you think?
I love it. I absolutely love that. Or start the next... Oh, that's a whole live on its own.
No, throw out one thing. Throw out one thing. We'll talk about it later again.
We'll just start the episode from the... like La'an's point of view, where they've been beamed up, they don't know where they are. They're terrified something's going to happen, and most of the episode is just based on the Gorn ship. Like, maybe they are working. Maybe the Gorn come down and say, "Sorry about that."
Sorry.
Yeah, and Pike decides to obey orders and leave, and the Gorn can't cross the line either. So they try. You could definitely have a lot of fun with that for sure.
Yeah,
but the next episode being kind of not in the Enterprise perspective at all would be interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And something I feel like they could, and they feel like something they would do, that giant twist. And especially then if you get a good guy Gorn ship, that would justify the sets. And then I could actually imagine a bit of a push, but I could imagine if you have good guy Gorn and bad guy Gorn and good guy Gorn bargains with Starfleet to delete information on the Gorn in exchange for them being more aggressive with their borders to stop other Gorn, leading to that sense of we don't know much about them because it all got deleted through a good peace treaty, a pact, but sort of unofficial. So Pike knows all about them, but obviously he left. Kirk never learned about them. And maybe you could even argue Spock and maybe they made a thing like we also need to keep this sort of under wraps so they don't go into it. And in fact, if they know the political intrigue of the multi-Gorn faction, then you could argue that in TOS, they're like, well, we don't know which Gorn this is. Faction A, Faction B, Faction C, even though we all have ideas, we can't interfere because we know politically this could blow up so dramatically. Oh, good, it's a good Gorn. Relative. Yeah. That could be really interesting.
Yeah. Miguel, though, looks like the last super chat of the night with $5.
Thank you.
There was apparently a Gorn on Rurpente in Star Trek 6. He looks more like Warthog. More Warthog-like than any other Gorn.
I have no idea about that. Okay, I've looked. Star.
Wouldn't be surprised to throw a Gorn in Rurpente, but...
I Google, nothing appears.
Wow. Damn, Google.
Penthe.
So while he's looking that up, guys, if you haven't hit like yet, please do. We need another 6 likes to get to 150. And if you don't want Miguel to be the last super chat of the night, now's your chance to super chat snipe in. Honestly, another at the minimum $8, but ideally 40 would be amazing. So if you guys can throw in some 5s or 10s, would be amazing right now. What is your last thought? What do you want to say about the Gorn? Now's your chance.
Yeah, I can't see anything, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, I forgot Gorn appeared in comics and stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Didn't even occur to me to look for that stuff. That's interesting. That'd be an interesting comparative. You know, how to comics appreciate it, because approach it, because that's, you know, not limited by budget, not limited by time, really. How do we visualize this when those factors aren't messing us up?
I think IDW did they did the Gorn. It's like a comic book about just the Gorn.
It's fertile soil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool beans.
Alrighty. Well, I think we will call it there, friends.
Oh,
thank you.
Poll.
Oh.
119 votes. Do you think Strange New Worlds should show a TOS-esque Cleon Gorn in Season 3? Or, with the Stranger World Gorn being the warrior drone type, a stonking 80%... Damn it, went down. A 1% less stonking, yes, use both designs, 79%. No, to Stranger Worlds Gorn are the retcon, boom, done, 21%. So I'm happy that is a stonking victory.
Nice.
Nice.
Cool. Right. Anyway, guys, until next time, please join us for lives later this week, as well as edited content coming your way. Don't worry. Just because there's no new Trek doesn't mean we're not going to be here. We're going to be here every week with edited and live content, so stay tuned.
Yeah, we were here before, we'll be here after.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So until next time, he is Commander Coffee.
Is Canon Foley? Bye, guys.
Never going to give you up.